Let's have a look at the new functionality in Starflow, which is the ability to create non-billable estimates. To create a non-billable estimate, you would go ahead and right-click on the job as you normally would to create an estimate and choose the new estimate option. The only difference now is that the system prompts you as to whether the estimate you're creating is going to be a billable estimate or a non-billable estimate. Now, the default is billable estimate. This is your typical estimate that you're going to create that's eventually going to be billed to a client. But to create a non-billable estimate, you would select that option. And this is used mainly for where you have a retainer job that is covered by a retainer, and you would still like to create an estimate for this job and estimate the number of hours you expect to be spending on this job. And because it's an estimate just like any other estimate, you are then able to track actual versus estimated hours. But this estimate will never be billed to a client and cannot be billed to a client by the finance department, because it is by the definition a non-billable estimate. So selecting non-billable estimate and choosing next, you are then prompted to select the estimate template. So if I choose this digital estimate, the estimate is exactly the same as a billable estimate, and you would complete this estimate in exactly the same way as you would typically complete a billable estimate. So entering the number of hours, the charge rates for your clients should be there, and saving the estimate. Will create an estimate in the job, but it will be marked as a non-billable estimate, but in every other respect is exactly the same as a billable estimate. Now, the one difference between a non-billable estimate and a billable estimate is that when you request approval for a billable estimate, or when you actually approve a biddable estimate, it will always go to finance, and finance needs to check it before they make it what we term financial. And once finance make it financial, finance are able to bill it. In the case of a non-billable estimate, we skip the finance department stage completely. So if you have a non-billable estimate open and you approve it yourself, or you request approval from somebody else in the team, but let's just go ahead and approve it ourselves, this estimate will automatically become financial. So there will be no involvement of the finance department at all. And the estimate does need to be approved before it actually appears on the job cost report, so that you can get your estimate versus actual reports. So if I have a look now and I just refresh the screen, I can see now that this particular estimate, a non-billable estimate, has gone from incomplete status to financial. It bypasses the finance department, as I said before. In the actual estimate module itself, you can see that in the past we only had a section for billable estimates, but there's now an entire section or views for non-billable estimates. So clicking non-billable estimates by client is going to show you any estimates that are in progress, any non-billable estimates that are in progress for your client. Because I made the estimate, I approved it and it became financial. If I click on here, this is where I can see the all the financial estimates, or estimates that have actually gone through the process and have been approved for my client. So again, just to summarize, a non-billable estimate is identical to a billable estimate in all respects, except that it cannot ever be billed to a client, and when it gets approved, it completely bypasses the finance department. So this is purely for internal use.